Senator Marsha Blackburn, Republican of the great state of Tennessee, member of the Senate Finance, Commerce, and Judiciary Committees, is on the mez in focus in person today. Great to see you.
Good to see you.
First of all, this is a very important moment in a presidency, that first veto. You hardly see it covered anywhere. I'm going to think that it's political for some folk.
That's right. Yeah, this is a very political move. But Harris, they prioritize ESG and DEI, diversity, equity, and inclusion. These are they follow this like a religion. It is woke. It is wokeism. And when you look at this veto, and he is saying to 152 million Americans, your retirement savings are not as important to me as meeting the goals of ESG and DEI, so I'm going to veto this measure. But then look at what they did with SVB, Silicon Valley Bank. They went in and they bailed out this bank. The bank got in trouble because they weren't focused on their fiduciary responsibility. It was bad management. But what were they focused on? They were focused on diversity, equity, inclusion. They were focused on climate change, environment, social justice, governance. That is where they were focused. And what did they do? Federal government comes in, does a bailout for them, for Signature Bank. Now, do you think they would have done that for a bank in Tennessee that was there for the ag industry? Of course not.
You know, I want to pull apart a little bit what you said and go deeper. So ESG, DE&I, it's not for the purpose of goals that are necessarily set, that they're reaching. It is to check some boxes so that they are able to either get funding. And an example of that is in Silicon Valley Bank's situation, with the exception of, I think, one board member for that bank, none of them had any banking experience. They were clearly there for another reason.
That's right. They were political appointees. And it was a big part of rewarding this donor class that is very given to this agenda of climate change, the Green New Deal. Look at the people that had their money in Silicon Valley Bank, big tech, and green energy startups, green energy companies. So this is another continuation of this.
That's an excellent point. And they were so confident, Senator.
Yes.
That they had checked the right boxes, and those green energy companies were going to be more important to this federal government than abiding by the rules. And how do we know? Abiding by the rules means you don't have more than $250,000 in an account that you would expect FDIC to cover. They're getting covered with millions because they know that they're the preferred flavor.
That's right.
Of the left.
And see, you had Silicon Valley Bank. They tried to get Goldman to help them raise some money. Then they tried to find a buyer, then auction. All of that didn't happen. So then the federal government, you've got Yellen and Brainerd and Powell, and they all come in there and say, well, we will bail you out. We will guarantee every deposit, even those deposits to the Chinese Communist Party and those companies that are connected to the Chinese Communist Party.
There are quite a few. Maria Bartiromo said it just on this program a week ago. Let's get back to the president's veto and what it really means. After this veto, President Biden took to Twitter. This bill would risk your retirement savings by making it illegal to consider risk factors MAGA House Republicans don't like. Your plan manager should be able to protect your hard-earned savings, whether Congresswoman Marjorie Taylor Greene likes it or not. So if you thought it wasn't political, now you know it was. The president's dig countered with this savage clapback, and here she is. No one has put our retirement at risk more than you, Joe. American families can't count on checks from China to pay their rent and groceries like your family does. Oh, it is political. And it can get nasty. Political. But the President of the United States should be looking out for us.
Indeed. Indeed. And the fiduciary duty of people that are managing these pensions and retirement funds is to get the highest return possible so that you, the hardworking taxpayer who finally retires, has the most money available for your retirement. Because guess what? You earned it. It is your money. It is not Joe Biden's money for him to go do what he wants to with.
You know
it's your retirement savings.
Can I just say something quickly? The ESG, the D&I, it's at the beginning of this journey. What if they're not getting it right? What if the companies that are popping up, that are checking the right boxes so they can get federal support and funding, what if they're not even the ones that we'll need 25 years from now?
And they may not be. Because we are an energy-based economy, and we're depending on oil and gas and wind and solar and nuclear and hydroelectric.
Yep.
We need an all of the above energy policy so that we are always abundant in energy resources, so we can help our allies with energy. It should be God gave us these natural resources to use. We should use them, and to go take away savings or expected growth from retirees so that you can veto a bill and say, I'm all for climate change, that is wrong. Joe Biden knows it's wrong. And I hope that the American people will back us as we try to straighten this out.
So you're going to be attacking that. I know you've already been down to the border and many times, and you're attacking that situation. The blame game taking quite a turn right now. The White House says the House Freedom Caucus's budget proposal makes our wide open borders less secure. A White House statement on the budget plan says it hurts families and blares the frantic headline, a 5-alarm fire. The House Freedom Caucus's extreme budget proposal endangers public safety. I don't even see how they say that with a straight face.
Yeah.
Freedom Caucus Chair Scott Perry hit back. President Biden suddenly taking interest in border security as a means to rail against our budget is like a pyromaniac suddenly taking interest in fire prevention. It's all more fear and smear, deception and denial. Look, we are seeing fentanyl. We are seeing families ruined by loved ones they're losing. We're seeing young women and children at the border dying.
Yes.
Yeah. They don't have enough of what they need. They're trying to be sneaked into the country by the cartels, and the ones they don't kill, they leave to die. I mean, this is a mark against our soul. How can the White House again make this political? Well,
and there again, these people that are making this journey are physically, mentally, emotionally drugged, sexually abused by the cartels on this journey. There is nothing compassionate there. Now, in Joe Biden's budget, he didn't have one thin dime for building that border wall. What has the Border Patrol told us for 3 decades they need? They need a physical barrier. They need better technology where they cannot have a barrier. They need more officers and agents. And when you look at the fact that Chinese nationals are pouring into this country, 1,000% increase. You've got people from 176 different countries. You've got 107,000 American overdose deaths. 66% of those were fentanyl. The fentanyl is manufactured by the Chinese. It is brought into our country by the cartels. The cartels have operational control of the border on the Mexico side. Harris, nobody and nothing comes across that border without paying the cartel.
California, the Vice President Kamala Harris knows that walls work because she's in a state where there is one.
That's right.
Yeah, she's
San
the border
Diego.
czar. She was partying with Hollywood faves just a couple days ago. She's not worried.
But she hasn't been to the border to meet these families. I've sat down with survivors of trafficking, sex trafficking, and I have worked with people, met with people at that border. They are desperate for some help. And because Joe Biden will not do something, every town's a border town, every state's a border
you
state.
said it.
And we see this humanitarian crisis now, not just at the border, but in all of our communities as we talk with families that have lost loved ones to drugs, to crime. All of this crime that you're seeing in our communities, carjackings, gangs, things of that nature. I'm telling you, Harris, security moms have about had it. They are ready to see some change.
You have a lot to do on Capitol Hill. We are so
do.
appreciative always of your time, Senator Blackburn. My best to your great state of Tennessee. Have some
Thank
family
you.
there now. Good to
Thanks.
see you.